All right, there are those folks. Let's get our Facebook folks in here before it's officially time to go. And spinning wheels, 1 and 2. All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is another Victory Monday up here on Broncos for Breakfast.
Win.
I know, winning and winning and winning. Should have won last week. Who knows? But we're winning again. We're back in the winning ways. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, Scott Kennedy. Scott, good morning to you. Happy Broncos Victory Monday. How are you doing? What's new? We're a little bit shorter today because we had to rant, exercise some demons covering the Falcons as well. But we're here to talk a little bit of Broncos with their best win of the season, their second best win of the season. I mean, it felt good as far as
I don't think you're going to beat the Bills on the road, and the Chiefs were good wins. This one was taking care of business. This win was we are legit. We are going to squash the teams that are not.
Yes. Yeah, the most complete one. Not that I guess when you're thinking about the opponent as well, you'd have to think that 24-9 monkey off your bet victory of the Chiefs is there. But talk about domination. The Broncos win this one 24-7, despite it being very close at half. I think only 10-0. And man, Scott, 24-7, I don't even think tells the extent of the Broncos' victory in this game. They left points on the field. They had missed opportunities in this one. It didn't matter because on the opposite side of the end, that Chargers team looked like one that was playing incoherent, unpalatable, dead man walking football as far as their head coach. And the Broncos emphatically took care of business again, 24-7. Denver's 7-6 now, and we're rolling. We got a chance. I think the Broncos playoff odds, according to the New York Times simulator, last I looked, jumped to 52%. So you obviously not but looking pretty good considering where you were, of course.
Yeah, you got a lot of help. The entire AFC South lost, and Pittsburgh is crumbling. Now, Cleveland all of a sudden looks like they're strong, and here come the Bengals. Watch out for the rest of the AFC North. That's where you're really keeping an eye on. Oh, and wait a minute, Buffalo's Bills team isn't quite dead yet. I think they moved to 7-6 as well. So it's fun. It's going to be fun. We're heading to Christmas. Instead of worrying about the Christmas Day massacre that we had last year, we're talking playoffs. Playoffs, I tell you. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and
10-0 felt like the game was over. It was one of those 10-0 was comfortable.
Yep. It really did. And just some more of the numbers for this one on the Broncos game. Denver, who came into this game as the third worst defense in the NFL, giving up explosive plays. And even if you start from week 6, which I like to call the starting week for when you look at the defense this year, because that's when they pulled their head out of their you-know-what, finally, after the first 5 games of what the heck was going on with the defense. They still were 17th in the NFL in explosive plays given up per game. This one, they come in here and they only give up 2 explosives in the entire game, Scott. Back-to-back plays to Quentin Johnson. The defense stepped up, and it wasn't just the lack of giving up explosive plays. It was doing that when you are sending the house on passes as well. A lot of times, previous NFL iterations, when you'd be aggressive, a lot of times it would be paired with cover 1 and vulnerability on the back end. Well, did not see that in this game. The Broncos get after it. They sacked Justin Herbert. I think they lost I think they lost about 60 yards in this game, almost 70 yards on sack plays. So the Broncos aggressive up front, taking care of it and not giving up the big plays too. And you could do that, you're going to be hard to score on and hard to beat. Shout out to the defense. That is my biggest takeaway in this one by far. Defense played amazing football.
The concern I have, and it's a concern we should all have right now, and you had an update, and I want to see if there was anything else that came out, was the injuries in the edge room. What's going on there?
Yeah, so the edge position, Broncos suffered 2 injuries in this game. One of them pretty early on, and actually he was dinged up a couple times in this game, Jonathan Cooper. However, I did see him out there, I think, almost every time after he got injured. So I would expect his name to be on the injury report almost all week long, leading up to this Detroit game. And because it's a short week, maybe it's even one where he doesn't make it since the Broncos are playing Saturday night. He's going to be an important one, though, because he is your best edge defender on this team. So watch out for him. Nick Bonitto, though, that's the one to watch. Sean Payton did not have an update for the Broncos on us after the game there, but he was reported leaving the stadium in a brace. That, to me, doesn't scream end of season injury by any means, but I think it does
mean
say
anything until you get an MRI. You can walk off the field with a torn ligament. So
That's true. I feel like you
it
get
doesn't
in.
mean any, it really, it doesn't. So unless you could say, unless you see the stability test,
Yeah.
what they do where, they drop the leg on your back and they move them parallel and they grab the calf and the knee and start moving things around. If things start moving around without the knee, you got problems. So I didn't see the stability test. I didn't see when they did it, but you really don't know anything about knees until they do the MRI.
So we'll find out more. I do think the fact that he walked to the medical cart when he was carted to the locker room, and the fact that he wasn't on crutches, also for the stabilization there, Scott. The
Mhm.
fact that he was just in a brace, we'll see. But that's a big loss for the Broncos as well, especially with what they're doing in the pass rush department. I mean, the exotics that they're having right now, and not shame on me, but I want to say that I'm going to take part credit for the emergence of Jaquan McMillan as a blitzer. Because 2 weeks ago I tweeted out that despite how great Jaquan McMillan has been playing, and this was not a dig at him in any ways. I'm like, okay, we need to figure out how to keep him on the field, but also get more pass rush from the slot, given what we're seeing from the exotics and simulated pressures and creepers. Because up to that point, he had 0 pressures on the season. 0. The last 2 weeks, they must have heard me. Vance Joseph and him, like, you know what, bet this guy can get some pressures. And he's been flying in the backfield on some of those looks. So amazing play from them. And Jaquan McMillan, who's been unbelievable. Probably the catalyst of the season for a player.
Richard comes in, he says, winning out again and winning the West. Richard, how many times do I have to tell you? There is no way the Broncos will win out. It's impossible. Mathematically impossible. Cannot happen. All right, I've done my part. I have done my part. Richard has done his part. I've done my part.
The Kennedy.
I've never heard this term. Matt Ryan called it. It was a delayed blitz, and my God, when McMillan came around the corner, it looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the left tackle had some doubt, it was over. If he wasn't there, like ready to mirror him, he wasn't going to be able to get there. And he came around the corner. Matt Ryan called that a coffee house blitz. I'd never heard that before for a delayed blitz. To sit back, have a cup of coffee, and then take off running. Because when he went, my God, he came like a shotgun, and the dude just flat out makes plays. There were some calls in here last night. Let's get that man extended. He has 1 more year on his contract next year, and then he is an exclusive rights free agent. I think it would be a good time in the offseason to reward him for his good play and give the man a raise next year. Just kind of a show of good faith. I mean, I don't have to. I can run it out and I can use my exclusive rights, but by God, I love what you're doing. Let's double your money. I think he's on $750 next year. He's posed for like $950 next year. Let's double your money. And then double it again the year after. And then maybe, and then we'll add another 2. That would be, a 3-year, not extend, be a 2-year extension on what he has, but a restructure of the contract for $8 million. 3 years, $8 million. I like the sound of that, Nick.
In theory, I like it. I don't know if I like losing the benefit of the exclusive rights free agent and the restricted free agent on the end. Can you give him the money while still having the control that you'd have otherwise? That's the question for me.
Probably with the years there, but either way, I've got him under contract for 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean,
and I got another happy camper, and I'm sending a message to the rest of the team and my young players and my undrafted free agents. We will take care of you. This is the kind of organization we are. You want to be here. And it doesn't cost a whole lot for, it's not cap prohibitive or anything. It's just, it's good faith, and it's taking care of your employees and rewarding really good play. I'm for it. I'm for an extension on that one.
Probably a year early for me, just because I want to see more of it still. But I think that he's been playing incredible football, and you cannot talk about the Broncos turnaround this season without the defensive turnaround, and that starts with how they've been much better on the back end, not giving up explosives, and the pressure rate up front. They were not getting pressure to start the season when you had your Frank Clark, you had your Randy Gregory out there, and then they fall apart, unfortunately. So
they're 6-1 since Browning came back into the lineup, and since the meet and greet.
And that is something
all good mojo.
Yes, absolutely. And I did want to talk a little bit about Browning as well. Went back and watched this game again last night while putting together the crib. And that number 56, that's a bad man. That is a bad man. On plays here, you see him end arounds, you see wraps, you see him squirming through the interception that kind of really got everything going with the Broncos in this game. Browning squirts through a double team, gets in the face, and bats the ball, and it's right into Jonathan Cooper. A heads-up play, but the pressure does it at the end of the day. This is a pressure-oriented team, and the guy that really stands out for me, it's two, actually, but Browning, also that guy, Zach Allen, really unbelievable football second half. The way they're playing games off those two, magnifique, beautiful.
Remind me, Jonathan Cooper, because right now I want to talk some pizza, but I want to come back to Jonathan Cooper. I want to talk some pizza because I want you to make Little Caesars, who is the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, part of your game day. It's just so easy to take care of. It's hard to find good value these days with as expensive everything is. And to be able to pick up the phone and get two good pizzas from Little Caesars is the way to go. Order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day on Sunday, and get ready for some football and fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, we all win.
Yeah, you're going to win if you're picking the crazy bread and the stuffed crazy bread from Little Caesars. That is by far my favorite. Midwesterner at heart. If you can get me some pizza with the more cheese, the better, and some ranch to dip it in as well. I don't know if that's blasphemous to some folks, but yes, absolutely. Give me some of that ranch as well. So I absolutely love that. It's a winning combination every time. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery on our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the doubleheader tonight, Monday Night Football doubleheader. So pizza. Didn't get a pizza call in this one, but appreciate Ethan coming in here with the reference on that flip from the Broncos a couple weeks ago.
It's not really a doubleheader because they're concurrent. They're at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the picture in picture, right? Have a good time with it.
We'll watch them both. Some interesting games. Packers, Giants. Packers, those have some playoff implications. Should be some good games. Want to get to y'all super chats coming in. I see them stacking up real quick on the Jonathan Cooper. Remember a couple of weeks ago, there was some talk about the Cincinnati linebacker and his swinging gate tackles that were landing on the back of players' knees. Like, I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with that. And I was like, I don't know what else he's supposed to do. That said, the offensive tackle who tackled Jonathan Cooper grabbed him by the shoulder pads. And I'm not saying he did it on purpose. Yeah. And then basically launches his big ass right into the back of his knees and folded up Jonathan Cooper. I'm like, that looks, by the eyeball test, it looked like a horse collar and a half, and it wasn't. And I'm like, okay, if this is I don't even know what kind of tackle they call it. If this is what they're talking about being dangerous and maybe we should figure out a way to try and legislate this out of the game, I'm in, because that was brutal. That was basically how they got rid of the horse collar tackle, because of dragging guys down backwards like that and then landing on the back of their legs. And I'm glad he was okay, because when I think the adrenaline, he popped back up. And then after the fact, it started setting in what just happened when he had a 300-pounder roll him up from behind while bending him backwards, grabbing onto his shoulder pads. That was rough, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that one, I'm glad that it wasn't more seriously injured on that one. He came back in. I know he got dinged again later, so we're going to see what happens with Cooper. When you had injuries go down to Benito and Cooper in this one, you saw a little bit more Drew Sanders get some edge looks there, so that's one thing where it's a benefit of having a versatile player. And also when the Broncos were just, even though they were limited at edge, given how good they've been with cover your Scott, I'm going to have to use the terminology because it's what I hear in the coaching clinics that I've been studying this, Scott, for a bit. The creepers and the simulated pressures, their ability to hide who's coming and who's going. I mean, to be able to get pressure while showing 7, but only sending 4 was great. And it's had the Chargers confounded in this one. Now, yes, the Chargers are dealing with injuries in the offensive line. Their left guard looks like he suffered a serious injury. We'll see what happens. But Justin Herbert, I mean, really good quarterback. What do you think his QBR in this one before he went out, Scott, was? I've never seen a QBR this low.
I was going to say 30, 35.
So it's out of 100, right? And typically, if you see anything above 70, it's like you're pretty damn good. His QBR was 1.5. I've never seen that. And it was the Chargers go 0 for a billion on third down, 0 for 12, and 1 for 6 on fourth down, only giving up 2 explosive plays.
And the one must have been really, really late because they were 0 for 4 when it mattered.
Yes. No, there was one late where it was an okay run by them. But yeah, unbelievable play from the defense. I think this was probably the best team performance of the year. And we had some left points on the field, and we're going to get to that, talking about, we need to talk a little bit Jerry Jeudy, Patrick Surtain, or Russell Wilson as well. Wang Chung coming in. It's good to see you, Wang Chung 21, $5, saying, enjoying a piping hot mug of Chiefs tears on this Victory Monday. Time to start a drink run again by this time to the Super Bowl. Denver Broncos for life.
Run means he's going with the underwear superstition again. Hey, I'm here for it. I don't have to live with you. I think you don't F with a winning streak. Crash Davis, Bull Durham.
Yeah, just be careful out there. Skin rashes are real. That's make sure you're powdering everything. Maybe we don't have a Manscaped read, but this would be a good chance for one. Thank you so much, Wayne Chung. We appreciate you. And God, have you seen the belly griping coming out from that Chiefs game? I've never seen anything like this. I mean, maybe there is some procedural stuff that I don't understand the intricacies of what's happening on the field, where the ref is like letting him know, like, hey, you're offsides. But if it's been happening,
it's a courtesy thing. How many offensive offsides calls have you seen in all of the time you've watched football?
I mean, you see guys lined up offsides and offense.
How many flags have you seen called?
I'd probably say 3 or 4 times a year.
I watch a lot of football. I don't remember ever seeing any.
Okay,
maybe it's because I watch so much guys, and they go up, and it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. The wide receiver will look over and he'll point. You see him do it all the time. As Patrick Mahomes said, this is schoolyard stuff. Look over and he'll say you're good or back up a little bit. So there's kind of a relationship there. And I don't know if Kadarius Toney ever did that. What I do, and then Patrick Mahomes was asked, and I've got this on my my Facebook channel, if y'all want to check it out. The first one of these, if you scroll down just a little bit, I posted the first one at 8 a.m. Eastern of Patrick Mahomes talking about it. And the second one, he's asked about, Von Miller appeared to be lined up offsides just 2 plays later. Is it part of the inconsistencies? And Patrick Mahomes went off and said, I don't want either one of them called. I want them to let us play. And I was like, yeah, the irony is not lost on Philadelphia Eagles fans. And he basically went on. Do you remember when I said last year, when y'all asked me, I think it was in this show, what'd you think of the Super Bowl call? I said, I felt cheated. I felt cheated because we didn't get to see how that game was going to be decided on the field. Patrick Mahomes went on for 60 seconds saying the same thing. Chiefs fans came after me. Cheated. It was this, and this. I'm like, you just made my point. I said, Chiefs fans should feel cheated too, because you've got people questioning the officials instead of saying, nice game. Yeah. The angrier you get, the more you prove my point that you were cheated out of a victory that should feel good because you're pissed off instead of celebrating a Super Bowl win. So I agree with him, but there is a whole lot of irony in there about Patrick Mahomes and letting them play. And I don't think anybody for Denver Broncos is going to feel a whole lot of sympathy from him. Justin Lloyd coming in. Dynasty Herbert Oder. Can LA get a new coach? Yes. It's just a matter of time. Let's go. Broncos defense looks better than last year. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Especially if you compare second halves. This team, come on. How much difference does coaching make? Last week, some blown coverages and mental mistakes. Last week, do some blown coverage and mental mistakes. And they're a good team. They made some plays too. Again, we forget about the plays that Houston didn't make. C.J. Stroud misses a wide open John Mechie for a walk-in touchdown. The call that went your way on the hit and fumble that would have been a scoop and score. We forget about those things. That was a good game last week. Houston came out on top. Props to them. You're 6-1 now. Keep winning. Those things will. You can survive those games if you keep winning. No problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it was good to see them come out there. And I said that last week, Scott. I think this team is going to come out ticked off. And I think they're going to play a big game. I think the Chargers are going to be in the receiving end of a shellacking. And 24-7 in the NFL is a shellacking. The Broncos were 3-point dogs coming to this one, if I'm not mistaken, to win 24-7. Okay, head scratcher for me too, Scott. I don't know.
That was my easiest. That was my pick of the week. Broncos are winning this game. The LA Chargers are done. Stick a fork in them. They're on vacation.
Yep. And now are they even going to see Justin Herbert again this season? Broken thumb. Are they going to even rush back Joey Bosa? I wouldn't if I was them. So we're also not rushing along through these super chats. Good to see him. Michael says, good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Michael, God bless you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of the shows. We would not be here without you as one of the biggest. We are one of the biggest benefactors of your generosity. So appreciate you. And Hope you're doing well out there in sunny Tucson, getting a little bit more sun than I am up here in the Pacific Northwest. We also got the old man. I guess I'm going to have the old man title here pretty soon. The older man, Darren Kendall. Hey, Pops, how you doing? Saying, starting another winning streak. Love your guys' positive energy. I don't know if I would say that we are always the most positive energy. I saw Naj's in here too. I think he is the owner of the moniker. But I think Scott and I for sure are not going to BS you in the very least. So if we're coming across positive, I think that means there's plenty of reason to be positive covering the Broncos right now as well. So appreciate you, Dad. Hope you're doing well. Hope hasn't gotten too cold, icy, and snowy yet out there in Iowa.
Yes, thank you for the support. My dad was in on our show a little bit ago, so keep it all in the family. It's good. Happy holidays. It's a great time of year. Hope everything is going well and getting one more day closer to being grandpa. That's awfully cool. Quentin Caldwell, that's one of the things I lament about having kids so late. I'm like, God, if my kids wait as long as I did, I'll be 80 to be a grandpa. Yeah, well, should have thought of that before you started having kids when you were 40.
80 is the new 40 by the time that happens. So, Quentin, good to see you.
I feel pretty good. I don't feel any different than I did when I was 30 physically. I mean,
maybe a little
mentally,
wiser.
I'm about the same as I was when I was 15. So there you go. Quentin Caldwell comes in green, says, good morning, everyone. Love our win. We can talk some Jerry Jeudy now at Quentin's prodding. He says, Jerry Jeudy does need to be on a new team. I would not be mad if we got a wide receiver in the first round of the draft next year.
Wide receiver is definitely on the table for the Broncos, no matter where they're going to be picking. It's a really good wide receiver class. Texas has two guys that could be in that range with Mitchell and Worthy, although Worthy might be a little bit redundant with Mims. We'll see what happens with Odunze and Keon Coleman, the opposite wide receiver, whose name's Thomas, I believe, opposite of Malik Neighbors out there at LSU, is somebody to keep an eye on. It's a really good wide receiver class. I think if I was the Broncos and you were banking on wide receiver, I might want to trade down and get a mid-second round pick and fortify another position at the same time, maybe defensive front, just get another body in there and take a wide receiver at the same time. But that's for a later conversation. As far as Jerry Jeudy, I mean, Scott, I think we talked about this a lot 2 years ago, and it didn't turn out to be so much the case last year. But when the Broncos were first trading for Wilson, I was raising the alarm a bit for Jerry Jeudy and the fit with Russell Wilson, just because I see Jerry Jeudy being such a metronomic, on-time oriented wide receiver and somewhat like in an orchestra, right? You have the sheet music, you know what it's supposed to be, you have your cues, et cetera, et cetera. We're playing quarterback with Russell Wilson. It's more jazz, right? It's more chaos. It's out there. You got to feel it a little bit. It's offbeat. You got the solo going a little bit longer here, maybe over your head on that one.
Yeah, you're losing me on this one, brother.
Okay. Russell Wilson's a little bit more of a chaos merchant at quarterback, where Jerry Jeudy appears to want things on time and part of the script. You know, the quick drop back pass game where he's a part of the progression and it's within timing and everything. That's how he was best with Mac Jones. It's how he was best with Tua Tagovailoa. Now you have this where it's this off script, finding the football, fighting for the football, not always the best ball placement too. And this is big picture. I'm thinking for the whole time Russell's been with Wilson here. Yesterday, pilot on Jerry Jeudy. This was, I mean, that one tough throw, toughish catch I get, but bad tracking, I think, on that one on the far right side of the field. And then what are you doing with your feet on the one on the left side? That was an easy touchdown.
Went between his arms.
Yeah.
That's got to be caught.
You can't, unacceptable. Tough one still, but you're an NFL wide receiver.
First round pick, NFL wide receiver. I mean,
yes. And if you were making big plays, improbable ones left and right too, like last week, we were upset about Courtland Sutton, but it's like, okay, every once in a while, something like that's going to happen. He's made unbelievable plays all year. We would like that one. Would the game be different if you had it? Yes. But he's made some to make up for it. This is the pattern with Jerry Jeudy in terms of the tough catches. He just does not come down with them. I can't think of him coming down with a highlight reel catch since that Thursday night football game, his rookie year maybe, against the Jets with Brett Rippon just throwing up a crazy one to him and he comes down with it. So Jerry Jeudy, tough game for him. I kind of have a hot take on this one, Scott. I know I'm ranting here right now, but I think coming out this Lions game, I think this is a chance to really pick up Jerry Jeudy, and I would not be afraid to go back to him early and often in this upcoming game. I think this is one where he's been frustrated about his role. Okay, Jerry Jeudy, bet. We get you the most targets of any pass catcher in the game, and we have 2 golden opportunities for you, and you don't come down with it. Rather than, being really upset about it and, becoming disinterested, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, I think this is a chance where your leaders can come together, empower somebody, really get somebody to buy in. And I would, honest to God, give him another opportunity to and maybe it comes back to bite you here, but I think I'd give him another opportunity in this upcoming game and really feature him. And if you're rewarded for that, the benefits that you have long term are going to be massive. So I'm not going to shy away from him. I'm very critical of Jerry Jeudy, without a doubt. But I think this is when we have a chance to really pick him up. But we can talk about that more down the line.
Yeah, he led the team in targets yesterday. He had
That's what I'm
6
saying.
targets
Yep.
and then 2 catches for 16 yards when it should have been at least 3 catches for 90 yards.
I mean, a touchdown.
It wasn't that far a throw, but it was a long ways.
Yeah.
I just, and they talked yesterday about, well, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to, you're going to be able to trade his contract. He's got, 14 million or so next year guaranteed. You don't have to. You can trade him. People make this mistake all the time. That doesn't mean that the entire contract is going with him. So what can you get and what can I buy from it? Okay, we'll give you a 3rd rounder for Jerry Jeudy. Well, how about we'll pick up $7 million and make it a 2nd rounder? Okay. I just think he needs a new change of scenery. I think, and as far as what you're saying, as far as, it almost sounds like you're changing a game plan in order to feature a player. I don't want that to happen, period. Just to make somebody feel better, maybe I can showcase him. You got to win games, man. And for every time I throw it to Jerry Jeudy, I'm not throwing it to Cortland Sutton, who is on freaking fire. So
I get that to an extent. I don't think it's totally changing the game plan because the Lions have been absolutely terrible in the pass game. They are 30th in the NFL, I believe, in EPA per pass.
Their defense has been awful.
Since week 8. They've been okay against the run, though. I think they're 8th in EPA per rush, but their pass defense has been atrocious. And I think this is a game where you should be protecting the ball enough where I think you can still work to feature Jeudy. And again, if it doesn't work early and you have another drop, then you are moving on. And I get this is going to be a hot take. I think I'm fine with you disagreeing with me. I see JR Capron saying, no way, don't do it. I get that. I think Jeudy has probably been somewhat frustrated in the role, and you feature him this week, and he's probably down right now. I saw Jerry Jeudy made a good play afterwards. You see the first person to congratulate him on a good play on a screen where he made some guys miss. You see Cortland Sutton run up to him, encourage him. You see Russell Wilson come up and encourage him. I think this is a chance to really get buy-in. And if you go back to him after he failed because you believe
buy-in
in him,
for what? What's my long game here? I get buy-in for what? We've got 3 games left in the regular season. 4 games left in the regular season, and then a possible playoff game, and maybe more. What's the buy-in that I could possibly be, again, catering to Jerry Jeudy for this game against the Detroit Lions? What's my end game here?
Belief in the entire system, and that even though you aren't always getting the football, you can contribute, and when it's the right moment for you to contribute, you are going to get the ball. So you're not just a ornamental
next
piece.
Year?
I think it's for the playoffs. It's for down the stretch. It's for your
overall
overall value.
Change can be made over the course of 1 or 2 weeks.
I do, because I think you're that close. I think he's open, and I think they're going to target him. And I also think that the defenses you're playing specifically in the pass game are putrid going forward. So you have a chance. If they want to, they can feature him. Now, he didn't earn it this week with a trust, and if they didn't go back to him, I would understand. And I see a comment in here also from Rodney. I missed Tim Patrick. I get that. But I think that this offense is not going to go where you want it to unless Jerry Jeudy is playing better football. And I think you're on the cusp of it. I really do. This was a rough one, but we actually saw them getting to the ball to him open. I think if you give him another chance and he pays off from it, I think it's an exponential boost for the offense.
You need him. He's your second best wide receiver. You need him. So I'm not writing him off. I'm just not making any special accommodations. A wide receiver 2 should be part of your game plan anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just not going out of my way to grease the squeaky wheel. The team is more important than that.
I agree, but I think the payoff that you'd get from him being more involved in the offense and taking the load off of Cortland Sutton and being a viable option, I think would have
should
bigger.
Be his wide receiver 2 anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hit Troy.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a interesting conversation here. I'd be really curious to see what happens. It is frustrating, no doubt, and I've been one of the bigger critics of Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if the relationship and the style of play, like I mentioned earlier, it's jazz versus orchestral music here for the music nerds. But I will be curious. Circling back, though, don't get me wrong. This game, and I've been critical of Russell Wilson, too. The corner deep throw to Wilson, he couldn't have thrown it anywhere else for that because the leverage of the defender. Jerry Jeudy's got to come down with that. Beautiful design. Jerry Jeudy's got to get his feet in. Don't get me wrong. This is one that Jerry Jeudy's going to go back, and it's going to be rough on the film. He wants more opportunities. If he doesn't get them, I would understand why. Troy coming in $9.99. Good to see you. Says, hey guys, feels like we beat a wounded team after it failed to score, but it also feels like we were a tougher team who beat the Chargers into submission. Either way, so happy with the win and the way forward. Yeah, Broncos beat up on the Chargers on both sides. Almost 70 yards lost from sacks. Only gave up 2 explosives, winning the turnover battle 2-1. Maybe should have been 3-1. We talk about that Jaquan McMillan strip sack that wasn't a strip sack that I think probably should have been.
That.
I don't understand how they overturned it.
I understand if you'd called it incomplete to begin with. I don't know how you overturn that play. I'm going with whatever is called on the field on that play.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to, I'll give you 20 seconds. I have a 20-second clock, and you have to decide if the referee screwed up or not. Not, well, what is it? Let me get out my slide rule and my protractor up here and knock this down to 8K film and 600 frames per second, and I can look at the 599th frame and see if I can make a decision. 20 seconds. If you can't tell in 20 seconds whether or not the ref screwed up, play ball. Yeah. Oh, this is a really tough call. I'd hate to be in this position, have to make this decision. The decision's already been made. Your decision is to not change it. It's frustrating as hell. And it's not getting any better is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, the reffing has probably gotten worse, except we love the refs in the Kansas City Bills game. Let's go the refs in that one. But thank you so much, Troy. We appreciate you coming in. Yeah, I mean, Jaquan McMillan all over the field. PJ Locke also all over the field. Really the only negatives in this game from the defense were those 2 big plays. Fabian Moreau gave up one. I'm not sure what the miscommunication was on PJ Locke, but that's going to happen sometimes. The Chargers were desperate and they were heaving it. And Quentin Johnson, who hasn't come down with one of those all year, it seems like, came down with it. So, it wasn't that bad in the end. It is unfortunate because those explosive plays led to a touchdown, which kept the Broncos from having the #1 EPA per play defense in the NFL so far this week. We'll see what happens on the Monday night games. But overall, I mean, this could have been a shutout. The Broncos could have won by more. They left points on the field without a doubt in the first half. And I just got some of these numbers on the defense. 1 for 6 on 4th down, 0 for 12 on 4th down.
The one was late. Like the game was well in hand by then.
Yep. The stopping them after you had a questionable decision throw on an interception. I mean, that could have been, game totally different there. If the Chargers score a touchdown, they go for it on 4th down. They don't get it in the goal to go or the gold zone, whatever you want to call it, area. And yeah, after that, as soon as Justin Herbert goes down, it's over. Broncos emphatically win this one. Gosh, what else can you even say? The linebackers in this one too. Let's give a shout out. I mean, we've been rough and rightfully so. A few plays on the run defense and the linebackers, but how they have been, and there's a few plays here or there of the middle of the field where they're going to get targeted. I mean, when you're blitzing as much and they have to cover that much space, it's going to happen sometimes, folks. You want a blitz-oriented team? Well, guess what? There's going to be space in the back.
To make plays too.
Yes, exactly. But Singleton and Jewell, the 4th down stop, the second one where it was Baron Browning, Singleton, and then Jewell came from the opposite side and just funneled to the football. It was beautiful. This was probably the best we've seen the front 7 look all season in the combination of the pressure and the run defense that we saw. And it was beautiful to watch.
I want to hit back on Troy's comment that was up there a while and just the tone setting of the game.
Yeah.
The interception that goes on Russ, it shouldn't. That's an interception that I think is on the receiver. All interceptions
I disagree.
are created equally.
I disagree.
I don't. For the same reason that Jerry Jeudy should have caught the ball. I don't care if it's a little bit behind you. If I'm an NFL receiver, I get 2 hands on the ball. I catch the ball, and it's not an interception. That was an interception because he couldn't make that slight adjustment on a ball thrown slightly behind him, and the ball bobbled around. That's on the receiver.
3-yard out, inside and low, where you have a leveraged defender to the inside. The one thing you cannot do is throw it
on the ball into the body. I don't care if you have to turn your body. I played receiver. I guess it depends on who do you typically put more on. As a receiver, that's on me. I got to catch that ball.
I think that's not a hard throw, and it's pretty easy to put it in the right
catch either.
It's not, but you would never even have to have that issue if you threw the ball correctly. And the fact that you have a leveraged defender on the inside and they have to make that adjustment. Yeah, I put probably 25% on Mims, 25% on the defender, and 50 on Wilson for that one. And maybe this is me being biased, and I can fully admit that because Wilson's lack of precision in the quick game makes me pull my freaking hair out. The reason the Broncos have been one of the worst
Point
yak teams
was
in the
not on
NFL is
Mims.
because of
Okay,
that, but
whatever. Forget Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's awful. Should have made that throw. 100% on him. Should have been a pick six. The way the defense stood up and then stopped them from scoring after giving them ball in the red zone on that's better than a turnover. The momentum shift on that. If they kick, what is Staley doing on 4th and 3 after you had just totally whiffed on 3rd down? Dude, take the points for God's sakes. It was 4th and 3. It wasn't 4th and goal and you got stuffed on a sneak. It was 4th and 3. And you stop them. That's better than just a turnover. That's a turnover. I mean, that's the momentum swing in that is almost as good, if not better than a scoop and score, a pick six. Because that's a statement of intent. You guys can't score on us. And it was telling for the rest of the game. Hats off to the defense on that particular series. It's almost like that was the game. I mean, we knew which way this game was going right there. We knew. That's what I mean. It's like the game's not over there, of course, but it's like I knew which way this game was going right at that moment, right then.
Yeah, the failure to capitalize in that plus territory off of a debatable fault, interception between Mims and Russell Wilson. That's as soon as that happens, it's over. And especially this has not been a juggernaut Broncos offense this season. And I appreciate being aggressive in a lot of the situations, but you also have to know your opponent. I mean, the Broncos came into this game, 21st, 22nd in EPA per play this season on offense. Why is it so low? Because they didn't capitalize as much on the unbelievable field position that we saw during their winning streak. And you take the points there and you make it, what would it be there, Scott? 3-0, 3-3. The game changes there. I mean, you go down to the half 10-3 instead of 10-0. One possession game. A lot of chances if it was 3 there at the end, it would have been a one possession game through a lot of it. But because they don't get the points there, the game flow is completely different. The Broncos can play very smart, protective football to an extent. And with the way the defense was playing, that is enough against this Chargers team. Gary Palmer, 999 says, good morning, Nick and Scott. I'm so happy we are relevant this time of year. Go Broncos. I mean, heck, Broncos are relevant, but they might even be feisty going in there. And we've seen them, lose big, lose small, win small. This is a big win where you didn't play your best football all around and you still come away with a emphatic victory versus the Chargers.
This is the kind of win good teams have.
Yes.
It's like, this is a team that's down. We should win this game. Let's not play to the level of our competition. Let's just go out and step on the bug.
Never
squash the bug.
Doubt.
It was emphatic. It's not a statement game, but in a way it can be. It's saying we're legit. They're not. We took care of business on the road. How often have we been able to say that for the Denver Broncos in the last few years?
Not as often as you'd like. That's for sure.
Appreciate you, Gary, coming in. Nosh, thanks for being patient, dude. We gave you a shout out earlier for the energy merchant here. He says, hey, brothers, you bros know football is about momentum. Thank you, Staley, for going for it early on 4th down. There we go. Naj has beat me to the punch, and I'm just late getting into it. And thank you, D, for shutting it down. And the momentum that play carried over, I just stated it. Naj did too. Teams keep testing us by going for it on 4th, and we make them pay. Go Broncos. And they kept trying again and again. And they didn't need to. And I understand it a little bit. At times where you're like, what have you got to lose? As we've said, this is a dead man walking, where you see times like, listen, this team's not going anywhere. They're not winning anything this year. Why not? Why not go for it?
Yeah.
This isn't one of those times. Take the points, man. This on 4th and 1 from my 35, that's gambling. This was not good football from Brandon Staley. This was not good football.
And I think there's also like a difference in there's no belief in that team right now, right? They go in there, they're playing soft, and I don't see the fire, the burning passion. If it's out there, your team is humming and you're an aggressive style, like, you have the tush push going on there with Eagles, even though they've been on a bit of a skid, but like there's belief that you're going to get that 4th down. I didn't sense that at all with this Chargers team. They are just spinning the drain right now. And we'll see what happens with their offseason head coaching hire, because again, Dead man walking with Brandon Staley. Lawrence Rivera says, with all these rules, the refs could make or break a game. There's literally too many rules. With a few, make a few and stick to them. Yeah, I mean, it's always a little bit different here or there. It's just the pace of play, I think, is the big thing that Scott's getting on. And you're moving beyond the point of replays and getting it right. If you have to go to slow motion, 50 different angles, 10 minutes calling people, at that point, it's too close to call. Just go on the field. Call on the field should be the call.
Replay was never about re-officiating the game through replay, re-officiating it. It was always about the egregious error, the obvious error. And despite the fact that for how long has replay been around now? Forever. It seems like it's been around for 20 years. Despite the fact that it's been around for 20 years, let's say we've got 4 reviews per game, and we'll do the 16 Broncos games. That's 64 reviews a year, 20 games. That's about 1,250 Denver Broncos reviews since replay has been. Every single time the announcers say, now remember, it has to be clear and obvious for this to be overturned. Remember, clear and obvious. And this is what it was called on the field. Do you see clear and obvious? They're not calling clear and obvious anymore. And I don't know that they ever really did, because it shouldn't take longer than 20 seconds to overturn clear and obvious.
Yep.
It's irritating.
It's also bad for the pace of play. I mean, they get in more commercials, Scott. Did you ever consider that? But Dirty Boy coming in 199. Good to see you, Dirty Boy. Ted coming in. Ted Wunderlich says, I'm glad we finally broke the stupid 1-5 division streak that we'd been on the last 3 years. Just need to break the Vegas streak next. Yeah, the Broncos win their first road divisional game since 2019. They break an 0-3 streak at SoFi Stadium there. Not Sophie. Sorry, Scott. And
no, you can call it Sophie. I think that one sticks.
Well, whatever we want to call it. Let's
call I was there when it was the horse track, actually. So over in Inglewood.
Let's just call it
Hollywood Racetrack or something like that. I don't remember what it was called.
Maybe. Let's just call it Broncos West, because shout out to Broncos country there. Pan in the stands. This is why orange is so much better than the navy blue, because it pops in the stands. It's like, oh my gosh, this is 80% Broncos fans here. You see Alex Singleton on a 3rd down, pumping up the crowd on a road game. I mean, you almost feel bad for the Chargers because they have such a home field disadvantage. I think they said in the game, Justin Herbert has had to do silent count at home every single game this season. I mean, sad. Good to see you, Ted. Thank you. Good point about the Broncos snapping the streak. We got 2 more divisional games too against backup quarterbacks and 2 teams that don't look very good. Hopefully we can keep taking care of business. Just keep punching. $10 says Cecil Amy said the same thing about getting Jerry Jeudy more involved, especially if they want to make a push for the playoffs. I'd get it either way, Scott. Honestly, I just feel like the opportunities are there, and this is a chance for team leader Russell Wilson to empower somebody who I think is probably frustrated about the situation somewhat before, now questioning themselves. And if you can, when you pull somebody up after they failed like that, I think you get undying loyalty and support, and that could really change the belief and buy-in. But I'd get it at the same time if you don't go to him, because there's only so many balls to go around.
It's not either or for me.
Yeah.
I'm not icing him out. I'm saying as the number 2 wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, who's going to throw the ball 30 times a game, he will get his opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm just, and they should come naturally. And you should call plays as part of the game plan every week where Jerry Jeudy is the number 1 option. That happens through the course of the game organically. I'm just saying I'm not tailoring anything more or less for Jerry Jeudy right now. I'm just not. I'm going about my business the way I've gone about my business to win games. And if he's making the plays when the opportunity comes to him, great.
Yeah. Do you think that was the case?
I'm not changing what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is working, and he's still getting his opportunities. Now it's up for him to take them.
Do you think that this week it was just part of the game flow to get him the most targets, or do you think it was a choice by the game plan? I think
some of it is part of the game flow, yes. Part of it is, and what I've said, and this is the thing that got me, that really made me started thinking about him. Appreciate you. Just keep punching. He's who's next? Are you going to change your name? Who is next? The Lions? Are they next? He's got the Goldberg on there. I thought Jerry Jeudy would have the big season because of his skill set in order to create separation in a broken play should be perfect for Russell Wilson. He should be the first option on a broken play in a scramble, because he's got the quickness to change directions and subtly move in and out of areas and catch the ball in the open field. The problem with that is a problem with Jerry Jeudy, and it's the work ethic. It's the motor. It's the when do I finish plays? Is it when I look back and I see Russell Wilson's in trouble, do I come back and bust my ass to get open? Or am I running my initial route and I'm not in it? I noticed the ball didn't come to me and I ease up on the play and I take myself out of it.
It's maybe parts of that. Maybe it's partially awareness as well. Maybe it's also partially trust factor, right? I mean, how could you trust him when he's dropping it? Russell, he was open on that fourth down last week, but Russell Wilson ducks and runs, gets the first down. Maybe you don't trust him to make the play. I mean, at some point, there is that.
I think his first read is there's no intermediate in there where those balls should be going for a busted play. It's I'm looking long,
I'm taking off.
And I'm looking to running backs.
Yeah.
That's Russell. That's on Russell Wilson right now. It's check down Russ, and it's not even really check down. You usually think it's just, I don't even know how to put it. It's
3-pointer delay.
Call it a check down, but usually it's because you check down like a ladder. You go, far, medium, short, and then I throw it short. He's going, okay, can I go deep? No. Okay, where's my running back? He's skipping the intermediate part of the field on those check downs.
Yeah. Still some high lows out there based on the coverages, but I agree with you. It is a 3-point to check down offense. And part of the check down is Russell Wilson trying to scramble while evaluating where his running back is for the double. It's almost like an option route at the end of a deep pass play. But kind of interesting to watch the evolution of the offense. KB82 comes in, says, Jonathan Cooper looks like he injured his leg on that turnover. Is there any updates on him? Any word on Benito? Talked about at the top of the show. Benito in a stabilizing cast brace on his knee. We'll see about that. Hopefully, I would expect him to be out this week, but we'll learn more, I'm sure, today, even as well. I'm sure he'll get an MRI. Cooper was in there. He might be dinged up. I expect him to play unless something comes out, but I think it's probably one of those things that you're going to see him on the injury report all week as questionable and then ends up going. That's the vibe I'm getting for him. And also, we have to talk about this, Scott. I need to get out of here soon. But Quinn Miners, taken off the field at halftime, listed as illness. We find out later it's irregular heartbeat. He's sent to the hospital in the Los Angeles area. The heartbeat is reported returned to normal, but he was kept in Los Angeles overnight for observation. So doesn't get a fly back with the team or hang out in Club Dub, but sounds like things are good for Miners, but worth monitoring. Did want to give a shout out. The offensive line for the run game was actually probably my biggest weakness in this game, only getting like 3 yards a pop against a bad Chargers front. But I thought Wattenberg came in and handled himself admirably when you lost your best offensive lineman in Quinn Miners in the game. So shout out to Wattenberg.
This is a short week too, isn't it?
Yes, it is a short week. So we'll see what happens with Miners, but I thought Wattenberg, considering how bad he was last season, was okay out there.
That comes with time. We've seen Lloyd Cushenberry playing down in the trenches with the grown men on the interior line might be the hardest place to come in right away and be good. Because again, it's not only just the technique. We call it old man strength for a reason. When I come in as a 22, 23-year-old kid and I'm going against 30-year-old grown men in there that have been in the league for a while, it's tough. So good for Wattenberg, taking advantage of the opportunity and more good coaching. The development in there that you get from your offensive line coach, that can't be understated.
Yes.
How much difference. I mean, we know what they thought about the offensive line coaching they were receiving last year.
Yeah. And there's a reason in the midway point episode we did, Scott, that coach of the year for the Broncos, I gave it to Streif, because every single player that was here last season has taken leaps forward. It's been unbelievable. Troy Morris taking leaps forward for the podcast with the contribution here. Says, thanks for all the Broncos content you guys provide between the games. This gets me by. Broncos are legit and can finally push back. I mean, not only push back, they were pushing both ways without little pushback from the opponent this week. And we'll see what happens here. The Lions next week, probably one of the best offensive lines you go against. So we'll have to watch for the Broncos on first and second down against the run game, because I think Lions rushing offense has been one of the best in the NFL this season. But their defense has been pretty poor here as of late. So we'll see how that plays out. Thank you so much, Troy. Albert Knoppers also says, is Sean Payton's comment now true? I'll turn the Broncos around and Hackett as the worst coach. I mean,
not quite what he said. He said that what he saw was the worst coaching job he'd ever seen last year. And yes, that was true.
It was bad. Yeah, it was very bad. maybe until what we saw Hackett's offense was this season with the Jets. But Jets, 30 points on the Houston Texans. So it's wild. It's one reason that I prickle a little bit when people are talking about, the Broncos easily can go 4-0 down the stretch.
There's no easy anything in the NFL.
One at a freaking time, right? I'm happy we won this one. We'll see what happens with the injuries. You had the Steelers lose to the Patriots. You have the Bears beating the Lions. I mean, they have the Jets whipping the Texans. It's chaos in the NFL right now. One thing though, all those teams, I would say probably worse coaching than the Broncos. So probably a little bit more of a stable product when you have the coaching staff and what Sean Payton's doing right now. And Ted coming in with our final super chat, because I got to fly, says we can now call it going 0 for Staley on 4th down. They did get one. But that's a 1 for 16 on the day, 1 for 17 on 3rd and 4th down combined. That is atrocious. We were talking about the Broncos being poor on it last week. Chargers took it to a new level on 3rd and 4th down inadequacy. So shout out to the Broncos defense, man. They played tough, and something I was really concerned about even during the win streak was the run defense. The metrics around the run defense were poor. Probably the last 3 games are as good as the Broncos run defense has looked all season against the Browns, Texans, and now Chargers. We'll see how they look against the Lions, though.
The Lions at home are going to be a different animal. No pun intended. Not trying to play any Lions Broncos jokes there, but they've struggled on the road. The Bears beat them pretty good at home. Kind of dominated that game, really.
Yeah.
And but they're going to have a point to prove, and it's going to be a tough game. That's one we've had circled as an L. If I run through the percentage of victories, the Broncos are favored in 3 of the last 4 by ESPN Gamecast. They're not against the Denver Broncos. I run through probability to win all 4 of those is 10%. The 10% of winning all 4, it's just not easy. Even if you've got a 75% chance, your chance of winning 4 in a row at 75% is low. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough, but it is within the realm of possibility to finish this thing, to win and out and go 11-6.
It's still improbable overall, but it's far less improbable
but it's not,
than the run that we've been on.
It's not going, there's just no way. I mean, I said that earlier, just poking fun with Richard, but it's within we can talk about this as a real possibility.
Yep. It could happen. One at a time, though. Michael Ronquillo, great show today. Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Appreciate you. Jasmine also coming in. Appreciate you chiming in on some of the X machine yesterday. Always tweeting through feelings and stuff on football game day. Jasmine says, so are y'all saying the Broncos are a good football team? I still don't feel like we make the playoffs. It's so stacked. I'm calling 10-7. 10-7, I think, gets you to the playoffs right now, because it could be a situation where it's not, but you have a lot of divisional opponents left, a lot of AFC ones, and your toughest game is that Lions one. So winning, what would that be? Finishing 3-1 here down the stretch? I think 10-7 probably gets you in. I think I saw the stats are 10-7 gets you in 75% of the time.
Pittsburgh is coming out of this thing. I thought the Browns would too. I do not think they will now. However, the Colts might come out of it now. So you got Pittsburgh and the Colts to open things up. That could be opening up 2 spots. And 2 spots puts you in if you take care of 10-7. The problem is the tiebreakers. But again, if they keep losing, the tiebreakers will work themselves out. You're sitting at 9 behind the Houston Texans right now. Look over your shoulder, because the Bengals and Bills aren't going to give up either. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun race.
Yeah, a lot of teams sitting there at 7-6. It was really unfortunate to see the Jags drop to the Browns there. Close one, but we'll see. Just keep winning. Kenneth Booker coming in says Javonte doesn't get 100 yards a game, but his yards are super meaningful. They make a difference in the game. Yeah, this is going to be an offseason conversation, Scott, but I almost wonder if the Broncos need to get another hammer back there to play this style of football. Blow. Yeah, because I don't think they don't want to use him up, right? But they don't use any other running back that way. So it's like you have a limited number of those downhill attempts that you can do just because you're trying not to kill Williams. So maybe you want another back like that. I don't know if they don't trust P. Ryan in that way as well. Obviously, McLaughlin is a running back they want to use, but they can't use him the same. So maybe an offseason conversation, you need to find another hammer in the backfield. I don't know if you have the roster math for it, but it's a conversation.
There was a wicked collision between him and Derwin James in that game. And Javonte always pops right back up. I started thinking, I want to measure, something you can't measure, and you probably would have to do an MRI, but what's like cranium thickness on some of these guys, because he never seems to get buzzed, and he's in there. But again, he's taking hits from those guys, from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different guys. And there's only one Javonte Williams. That's the problem with the repeated load. I know that shot took a toll on Derwin James. It didn't show that it did on Javonte Williams, but it does. Right now, he's the body blow guy. You're coming in, it's like, man, he's only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Do you see the 3.3 yards per carry he's earning? He's earning every 10th of an ounce of every single one of those as he's coming in. It's incredibly valuable. And like we said last week, Nick, 2 weeks ago, I'd like to see him and Pirine flip roles a little bit, where Pirine's getting a lot of the early, because he's a tough dude. He's getting a lot of the early, get him a lot of the early carries, and then let Javonte come and clean up. Let him be the haymaker in the second half. And then all of a sudden, Pirine gets one carry. I'm like, he was hurt. We said that on the green room, like he was hurt, and they didn't say anything. And then it came out a little later. Yeah, he was a little nagged by something. Like, you don't go from the game that he had 2 weeks ago to 2 touches unless something was bothering him. So yes, I agree with you. Need to take some of that physical pound load off of Javonte Williams somehow, some way.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to follow, and tough games down the stretch, but hey, we're back in winning graces, and appreciate everyone coming in today. God, so many super chats. I'm sorry we couldn't say hello to everybody. We had to spend a little time on the Falcons, and now I got to get going because got to beat rush hour traffic to get to a baby appointment here. So make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says here underneath, please subscribe to Mile High Huddle over on YouTube. Like the show, like all the Broncos for Breakfast ones, because we're the best. And share on your social media platforms. Shout out to everybody coming in here. I know Naj was in here. Justin Lloyd, Macaronquillo multiple times. The old man, Darren Kendall. Shout out to him and my mom. Quentin Caldwell, Troy Boer, Gary Palmer, Naj, of course, Lawrence Rivera, Ted, Dirty Boy, Just Keep Punching, Kenneth Booker, Troy Morris, Albert Knoppers, Ted again coming in, Jasmine. You guys are killing it today. I couldn't
Richard
even get everybody.
White Chung nice and early with Justin Lloyd as well.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys are awesome today. Almost as awesome as the Broncos. Scott, any final thoughts? Because I got to fly.
6-1. Who'd have thunk 6-1 sitting at 1-5? I was ready to blow. If we want to have some fun, go back and watch the Monday Broncos for breakfast after you lost to the New York Jets.
Yeah.
And see the difference that 2 months can make. Unbelievable. I was ready to blow it all up. I was ready to scorch earth, start over. I was ready. And I don't think I was alone. What a job that this team has done from top to bottom.
Really, really, really. It's been pretty awesome. We'll see what happens. Just keep taking care of business. And you miss it, you make the playoffs. Who knows? But damn, this is a competent team, and we have some meaningful football to play down the stretch with just 4 games left. And considering where you were at 1-5, not in our wildest dreams. Not in my wildest dreams, for sure. I won't speak for everybody else. There are some crazy believers out there, but maybe not so crazy, huh? After all, appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Victory Monday. Make sure you continue to choose kindness and compassion. And as always, go Broncos.